I sit every Friday with the ladies and we look at all the topical stories that are making rounds in the news. So let's take a quick run through some of the headlines on our plate today. The Daily Graphic is dedicating its banner to Apiate. It says 1 year after Apiate explosion, victims grateful cry for more help. So if you remember, last year, 20th January, 13 people died on the spot. 3 others died later, bringing the total number to 16 lives we lost to Apiate. As we speak, there's an injury list of 20 people. Some are paralyzed. We're told that some are in critical condition. And today, we remember all the families that were affected by this devastation and work on rebuilding efforts towards getting back to some semblance of normalcy in Apiate. We'll be talking about that a bit later. Health Minister calls for review of NHIS Act. And of course, the National Cathedral also getting a part of the front page. We cannot all have our way. The chairman of the Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral is saying this in response to the resignation of Bishop Dag from the board. New Year School calls for interest rate structure under AFCFTA. So that's ongoing at the University of Ghana, as is done every year. So those are the stories from the Daily Graphic. The Ghanaian Times talks about 3 cops who are in trouble over fake CFA. It's 190,000 CFA they are unable to account for. It's an exhibit. So they were given some monies to put in exhibit. 190,000 CFA has vanished from their possession. So they are in trouble over the fake monies that they have. Private lenders urge to cancel Ghana's external debt. Part of the suggestions coming in to save the country from further economic distress. Missing twin saga story that is quite disturbing. The husband is saying the wife's placenta has been sent to Italy for analysis. And of course, the police again arresting that Uber driver in the controversial audio he released for police misconduct. He was making some great allegations there against the police. He's been arrested. Police says it is not true. We'll be looking at that. Of course, the Christian Council comes into the debate on the haircut situation concerning the debt exchange program by government. It's calling on government to suspend the exchange program. And that story is in the Daily Analyst newspaper. The IGP says he's not against prophecies. Yesterday, he sat with the Public Accounts Committee and he was asked a question to which he answered, he's not against prophecies, but people should not prophesy against other people's family members when their own family members are at home. So those are the top stories before us today. The ladies sitting with me, from my immediate left, Naa Atswei Nee-Okpey, communications expert, and a beloved friend from the PPAD. Naa,
hi,
morning.
Thelma. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm
Great.
well.
Welcome back to the table.
Thank you, Thelma.
Another lady making a strong return back to our seat, Hajia Hamdatu Ibrahim, former acting chairperson of the CPP, called for the sacking of Milo and Rival, and he was sacked. Hajia, morning.
Good morning and a happy new year.
Sanukade.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm trying very hard.
You've done well.
I'm trying very hard. So thank you, Hajia. Thanks for joining us. Hajia and Rahel, your father says we call you Naa Atswei, otherwise no food for you. What are we thinking about today? There's a lot of stories in the headlines, and I'm sure that you have the opportunity to talk more directly about them. But is there an issue that you want to raise for our attention, for our consideration at the table today? Nah?
Well, so I think I've seen, good morning to our viewers. I've seen a weekend phenomenon that I'm not so happy about. Sometimes when you go through some very, I don't say principal streets because they may not be so principal, but when you go through some very busy streets, you see families having hijacked the streets, whether for funerals, especially funerals, and then other ceremonies. I was receiving education last night that, of course, they get permit from the municipal assemblies to block these roads
They
for
should
some.
get permit.
They should, as to whether they do. My challenge really is not about the blocking of the roads. My challenge is that there should be communication at the beginning where you make the turn, so that you wouldn't have to drive and go meet a blockade before you are told that road is blocked. It is becoming too often and too many times we are seeing that in some streets. And so to the municipal assemblies who are in charge of these, we beg you, when you give these people permits, ensure that you communicate to drivers, so that we wouldn't have to get to where it's even unsafe for, you just may not know the road has been blocked, then you are speeding through that road. You could just run into somebody. And so please, when they seek permission from you to block the roads, please communicate to road users. And then on weekends, so I think that whether it's the task force, those who are in charge, you need to do some monitoring, because we assume that people might have sought permission from you. Maybe we don't come to complain. Some also take advantage of your absence to actually do this without permission. And so please, on weekends, go around the towns and go around the city and ensure that those who have taken over our roads have your permit, and then enough communication has gone on, in the area where these blockades have happened. Thank you, Thelma.
Accra woman making this call. I'm really surprised.
I should be used to it. I should be used to it by now. I should be used to it by now.
Woman, by now, you know that the streets, we own the land.
No.
So you can
But
block
great
anytime.
call there. People take advantage and they go into all kinds of places. They take over for days, sometimes for a 3-day period.
Yeah.
You're seeing Kochagbamo on the streets, you're seeing the Yala, you're seeing the Gbilesomo.
Everything
Please.
on the streets. Yeah.
Permission. Let's all abide by the rules. That's such a key call there. Hajia, have people blocked your road, so you have something else to
Also, where I am now, there's no blockade as such. But maybe if I come to my community, if I say my community, you should understand.
Okay.
They also do that. They also do that. And at times, people will come around and say that maybe they don't have permission to do that. Even on weekdays, you are talking about even weekends. Weekdays, we see such things. They block almost half of the road so that they narrow the traffic, and then it is really terrible. So I think maybe if something can be done about that, if you are going to block a road, as Naa Atswei said, at least you should give notice in such a way that people will not just come and then you get to the where they are having it, and you just say no way. Then you have to turn it. At times, it's even difficult to turn your car, especially if you have a longer car like my pickup. You struggle before you turn. So I think it's a call in the right direction.
Right.
But my rant, I told you I don't have a rant today because we are in mourning state when it comes to the Islamic community in Ghana. Our chief imam is bereaved. Sheikh, we call him Imam Rashad in Kumasi, died. I'm sure he'll be buried today. So the chief imam is mourning. So the Muslim community is mourning. So no ranting this.
Good shout. So we'll start with the very topical issue. Apiate.
Thelma, I read the Apiate story. I didn't say good morning to our cherished viewers out there. It took me. The Apiate case, I read it. When it happened, I'm sure we discussed it in the studio. But after reading the Daily Graphic, giving us a chronicle of events, in fact, I really felt it. People's intestines gushing out. I don't want to spoil your breakfast this morning, but I think it is something that we have to look at it very critically, because people are traumatized, people are confused, people don't even know what to do. So people are still receiving treatments at the health facilities. But what I want to know is, what are they doing about the psychological effect of that trauma to the people of Apiti? They are thanking the government and maybe NGOs for helping, and they still need help. I'm sure some of them cannot even walk. So are we seeing to their proper movement by providing wheelchairs or things that can make them sort of move freely? Because the Apieti situation was something that devastated the world, not even just the country. That brings to mind what happened at Atomic Junction and what happened in Circle, if you recall. So such things has been happening. And in fact, we have to applaud those who came to the rescue or came to help the people who really fell victim to the what happened in Apieti. Now, I was thinking that place could be relocated. In fact, that was my opinion, because I was so devastated when that thing happened. And then after that incident, what are we doing? You know, there were explosives that were being transported to another location that brought all those disasters. We've not been told what authorities are doing to prevent such a thing, because we're told that it needed an escort and so on. Maybe that was not there.
The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, in collaboration with the Minerals Commission, which has direct oversight over mining activities, have instituted a number of measures. They've actually changed some guidelines.
Yes,
so now the new guideline is for the vehicle to have the escorts and to not transport all the explosive materials
at the same
in
time.
one go.
Yes.
So they are transported. Some are taken there ahead of time and cited, and then the rest nitrates. There's a whole. Yesterday, the deputy minister said.
You see, he said, "Oh, okay, I didn't watch." You see, but I'm just thinking that such explosives, can't we find a way of transporting them not through towns? That brings to mind our road sector. What are we doing? Because in other jurisdictions, one car will be coming from this side, and the other from the other side, you can't even see it. So I think going forward, we have to look at our transportation system. Now that we are doing the rails, maybe those explosives can be taken to their destination through maybe by the rails or something. Because you see, I cannot even flow because of what I read this.
The Daily Graphic story is quite a tale.
I'm telling you.
It starts from
It started what happened to individuals. Well, we pray such a thing doesn't happen in this country again or any part of the world, because it's human life, even if it's one. We had 13. Apart from the 13, 3 died at the hospital. Now we have widows and have orphans. If we are not careful, and orphans taken good care of, something can happen to them. That's why we have, armed robbers, destitute children all over the country, because the parents maybe died early or maybe through this kind of accident. So I think the children of those who were affected should be taken care of. That is where my destiny is.
Right. So the Daily Graphic is bringing our minds back to what happened last year. Story from the front page says, while 46-year-old Joseph Kobna Ahin Jr. is fighting for his life, some families are still mourning the loss of 16 relatives and loved ones a year after the disaster struck Apieti, a community near Bogoso in the Prestea Honi Valley district in the western region. Today marks exactly a year since the incident, which wiped away almost the entire community of about 1,000 residents and left almost half of the residents with injuries. Daily Graphic checks indicate 16 people are still receiving medical treatment, and some of the survivors of the tragedy are still fighting for their lives in hospital, while others now live with permanent disabilities such as visual and hearing impediments. It follows on a journey through Arthur's recovery in that story, so you can find more details there. Yesterday, MCE for Prestea Honi Valley, Mr. Isaac Dasmani, told us there was going to be a vigil in honor or in memory of those who had lost their lives. And today, this morning, around this time, preparations should be underway for a similar ceremony like yesterday, but a ceremony today to remember the lives lost and to call for more support for the families and the rebuilding efforts. We are told that around 11:45 a.m., which is around the time the explosion is thought to have happened, a few minutes of silence will be observed at the center, the epicenter of the explosion, to remember the lives of those lost and also for the families affected. Now,
Hi,
the
Thelma.
MCE is on the line with us now, so I'll pick his thoughts and then I'll let you also have your say. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Dasmani. I think we may have lost him there. Can you hear us?
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Tell us what has happened. We spoke to you yesterday morning and you told us about the plans for the vigil and for this morning's ceremony. How did last night's program pan out? Was it as you expected? Prestia Honey Valley. That's the DCE for the district, yes. Hello, sir. I don't think he's hearing us very clearly, so we'll get back to the MCE for Prestia Honey Valley, and he'll be sharing some of the plans for today with us and also updating us on what happened at the vigil yesterday. Now?
Yeah, Thelma, so I observed something just right now. You see, when the show started, it started with so much energy, but at the mention of Apiat, it's like everybody in the studio is sober, and I mean, people can't even talk. Hajia was even, everybody, I mean, is sober and we can't talk. Now, you see, in as much as we would want to have a vigil, an anniversary to remember these lives, I think my pain this morning is the fact that the people of Apiati would relive a disaster. You know, so the day will play back to you again. And for me, that is the hardest part of the anniversary. It is okay for us to honor the souls that departed, but the act of actually reliving the pain, I think would be unbearable for them. Their lives will never be the same again, trust me, whether physically, whether emotionally, psychologically, their lives will never be the same again. And this brings to question how we actually sensitize people who live in key areas. So, for example, if you have a school in your community, anytime you get there, there is the instruction that maybe slow down. And so those in the area knows that because there is a school here, you don't have to speed, kids are crossing and everything. But the people of Apiate, I get the indication that they might just have grown to live with the fact that it's a mining community. But as to what to do or how to even conduct themselves during crisis, that has not been, spelled out. They've not received education and sensitization on that. And so we'll just urge government to, carry on sensitization. We would urge our community radio stations to carry on some education. And we'll also call on government and other benevolent people, all of us, to keep sending help to them. I read that before the end of this year, the first phase of their construction would be commissioned
September.
We are told. I'm hoping that it should be before. We just wish them well. We can't belabor their tragedy. I mean, we can't go back and forth. Let's just pick lessons from it as a country and let's run with it.
We're going on the phone lines and going over to Apiate right now. The MCE will be speaking to us very shortly. Government has, quoted the medical bills for the injured, those who lost their lives. I'm not quite sure what the support system, the compensation process has been like and how far we've gone with that. When we say never again, have we done enough to demonstrate that we've learned our lessons from this disaster? Have we learned lessons with our emergency response? Have we learned lessons with roads, siting of infrastructure? Do you see that we are ready to make this the case study? The president wants this to be a model community, and so he wants it to be a green setup. What more lessons could we pick up from this, disastrous as it is?
And so the first lesson is that we should always be on the side of caution. See, I said here the other time that when before the distraction, you could hear somebody in the tape telling people to go against it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as a people, as human beings, as we are, I want to actually satisfy our optics and to see that I mean, I was there. I have the tape on my phone. And so that is the first lesson we'd have to. Let's always be on the side of caution. That is one. And then also, let us try not to, predict the end of a matter. I'm saying this to the effect that the mining community, the mining organization whose driver is purported to have caused this, I haven't seen how enough they've been penalized. They are.
The minister tells us they are paying because they laid out a plan for them to pay a $5 million fine, and the deputy minister said yesterday that they are paying. They've stuck to the schedule that was laid out for them.
Very well, and so they are paying. But is the paying actually? I don't know how to put it. Is it also in an entirety of revamping the community? Whatever they are paying, does it amount to actually getting the community back on its feet? To mean that the organization is made to be paid to the latter. I don't know if you get my point. The organization is to be made to be paid to the latter when it comes to this model community we are putting up, when it comes to taking care of the dependents who have been left, when it comes to even taking care of those who have been disabled. It should be, the punishment must be pinching enough. They must feel the pinch of having caused such devastating. And then also as a country, I think that our emergency response is very poor. I'm imagining you having to call, for example, the fire service, and they will tell you maybe there's no water in the tender. Or you call the police and then they will tell you that there's no fuel in the van. Or you have a case and you have to pick a taxi to, for police mobility. All this does not help in our emergency response. And I think also that because as a country we feel that this institution might have failed us in one way or the other, sometimes we want to do things our own way. And so if there is fire, instead of, for example, calling the police, if there is a disaster, instead of calling the fire service or whoever is in charge of it, people just want to, do their own thing, start, containing the situation. And by the time we are containing with our inexpertise, it's actually, it becomes gravier and gravier. And so let us improve on our emergency response. Let us always be on the side of caution. And then when it happens like that, the organizations who have caused this devastation, I think they should be made to pay to the latter. Human lives, the organization won't be able to refund. They can't bring back their lives. But for whatever it has caused the families, I think the organization should be made to bear that.
Absolutely. In other countries, compensation would have ensured that the victims, the injured, their families would never have to worry about their finances ever again, and there would actually be a structure
it should be
to take care of them for an indefinite period
of
time.
It even has a bearing on the organization's image. You'd have to bring out these people from the distraction.
Let's get the perspective of this person we have on the telephone line. He's been directly involved in the relief efforts for the victims. Daiwo Kwashi is joining us now on our phone lines. Good morning, Mr. Kwashi.
Good morning.
How are you and the people of Apiati doing this morning? What can you report about events that have led up to this first anniversary?
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity. We are fine, so to say, just like you ask anybody, and the response is
under the circumstances.
It comes out like that. We are fine. But truth is that we have moved from one level to another level in terms of how the people are faring. Because on the 20th of January 2022, when the explosion occurred, on the spot, 13 lives were lost, 496 persons sustained different degrees of injuries. And fast forward up till now, we have 20 injured persons now who are still nursing injuries, with 2 of them paralyzed with the rest, with different kinds of. Some have to deal with harboring metal pieces of the exploded vehicles in their bodies up till today. We have 8 such persons. They have metal particles lodged in their bodies up till today. There are others who had blunt abdominal injuries. They had their bellies opened by the explosion. And up till now, they are still having surgeries upon surgeries to survive. So, yes, we have moved from one state to the other. Organizations donated food items and stuff. We have managed to distribute that among them from the January until December. We are yet to do the next distribution, but truth is that maybe after the next distribution, we will be left with nothing. That is one aspect. And my worry is about those 20 that are not able to work. The past 1 year, they've not been able to work. How are they going to feed themselves and families? Most of them are breadwinners of their families. And you listen to some of them, and you can't help it. School has reopened. We are in a new academic year. Those who are working are even complaining of the cost of stationery for their children. Though we have distributed some excise food, but we give what we have. We don't have notebooks, we don't have this, we don't have that. So yes, we have moved from one state to the other, but things are not too well with regards to their daily lives. Though we have tried our possible best, but if you ask me, things are not too well with them. But one thing that somebody can look at and smile about is how the reconstruction project is taking shape now. Initially, we were like, it is taking too much time, it is taking too long for it to be done. But after the substructures were completed and they started laying the bricks, you could see that, yes, the speed is fantastic. Work is ongoing, and we pray that it continues like that. And by the end of this year, we should see the people of Apieti back into their community. But in terms of the compensation and stuff, I think we will have to revisit some of our laws and our way of doing things and stuff. Because maximum as it stands, I don't know when they will even come and meet the community, give them some words of encouragement, at least for them to know that, okay, the company that was directly involved even thinks about them. Up till now, there's nothing like that. Though initially they brought 100,000 for the medical expenses of the people, but if one person's bill is 84,000, so the person died, and you brought 100,000, it means that you took care of about only 2 people out of 496. There is a lot to talk about, but in general terms, we have moved from one point to the other, which is a positive sign.
Yeah.
But we can still do more.
Yesterday, the Deputy Minister sat with us, and he had visited the community the day before, so that was on Wednesday with the team, and he was giving us an update on the state of the persons who are recovering or attempting to recover from this disaster. We've been told that the medical expenses have been borne by the state. So why do I get the sense that there are some people who are having some kind of difficulty accessing the quality health care that they need? Or you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. We talk about medical bills, but it doesn't end with that of the hospital alone. When you visit the hospital and you are from a PSA, government has absorbed that. So the services they provide to you, they don't charge for it. But the prescriptions and other services that you have to access outside the facility, you have to pay for it. And that is what the relief committee is doing. Example, you go to the hospital, you are supposed to buy drugs, medicine. You either buy, bring the receipt, we refund, or you talk to us, we raise an invoice, then we pay for you to go and buy the medication. We pay for the TNT and other things associated with assessing healthcare. So it is a two-way something. Government has absorbed the hospital bills, that is true. How about the prescriptions and other things associated to it? Those ones are the ones that we are taking care of. I understand that will be refunded to the committee, but as it stands, that's what we do. That is the explanation I can give you now.
Also, when we started this rather unpleasant journey, talks about compensation were front and center. I mean, apart from the welfare, the immediate welfare, and the medical and physical needs of the persons affected, we talked about how people can be held accountable so that certain systems would be put in place to protect the livelihoods of these affected persons going forward. Have any of those conversations come to your table when it comes to who should receive what in terms of compensation? You've told us lives have been lost. It's the start of a new academic year, and families really are struggling to foot the bills and to keep their lives going on. What kind of conversations have gone on with regards to compensation for those affected by this explosion?
Yes, lawyer Naa Atswei Nee-Okpey came in around June to meet with the people, educate them on what you can do, what can be done, how it can be done and stuff. But some of the things were basically related to having evidence of almost everything you are going to lay claims for. Example, you sustained an injury. Where is your police report? Where is your medical report? You get my point.
Are those things difficult to come by? Don't the persons affected have these documents or whatever what evidence is needed? Don't they have it?
Some have, some don't have. Then at a point, it looks like there were too many things in the system that people were consuming. So the next moment you want to meet the people to talk about some of these things, already they also have their people who are dealing with that, with them. So it was a rough situation. But as I speak to you today, Naa Atswei Nee-Okpey will be here to still talk to them about what can be done. Then I think after here, the next line of action will be, and there is a class action that is brewing.
I was just about to say, so are they approaching this as a group, as a collective, in the case of a class action, or are they pursuing it individually with their own lawyers and legal teams?
Initially, they attempted doing that, but it was going to be expensive. So it looks like now they are accepting the class action, sort of. So after the talk with them today by Naa Atswei Nee-Okpey, we will see some progress in that regard. And I think that soon you will hear action.
Well, it's been a whole 365 days, almost to the hour that this thing happened. And I was hoping that at this point we would have more, some concrete information to share. And I wonder if you were at the vigil yesterday that was organized by the District Assembly in the area for the memorial. Were you there?
I was there.
Tell us how that went.
Okay, so it started around 8:30 p.m. with almost everybody in the community holding a candle, the MC came to speak to us. The pastors around, the local council of churches came in to give us a word or two. A documentary was shown to the people how it happened, what happened immediately after, what has been happening after the reconstruction of the community. So in general, it was a mixed feeling. The whole vigil turned into weeping. At a certain point, some of the people, yes, it is something that nobody
that we
did what we could have done.
And there are plans for other events to happen today as well. And
Yes.
a few minutes of silence is to be observed. Talk us through the program for today.
So this morning at 9 a.m., we will converge at where the explosion occurred, where the reconstruction is going on. We'll have a Derba with the regional minister present, Nananom. We've invited organizations. The fire service will be giving us some safety talks. Experts from the mining companies will be talking us through what we should be doing and what we should not be doing when there are some of these occurrences and stuff. What can be done when we see what. We'll do that safety lecture between 9 and 12, after which at midday, the minute silence will be observed, because we believe that last year it occurred exactly 12 noon. So same time, the police will block the road for that to be done in the middle of the road, then with a memorial prayer, so that probably like blacks as we are and our beliefs, where blood was shed, we think that somebody might be seeking revenge or something. So we pray to avert some of these things. That will happen within 10 minutes at noon, after which we'll go to the cemetery for the reef laying. Then tomorrow we'll be on a quiet side. We'll do indoor games, Ludo or Wari draft. Then Sunday we'll do the Thanksgiving service at 2 p.m.
We'll follow up with you much later to see
so
how
much for the opportunity.
the day is panning out. And
Right.
again, our thoughts, our prayers with everyone at Apiate today. Taiwo Kwashi is a member of the Apiate Disaster Relief Committee. He's been sharing some thoughts with us today on the anniversary of that deadly blast. Ladies, this is where we are.
But I was a bit confused when he said some people come without proper documentation for maybe refund or something. Wasn't any inventory taken from the beginning? Because maybe there's a disaster. There should be a register, let me put it that way, of people who maybe were hit by the explosive. So is it that some people are trying to take advantage who were not part of the lesson, and they are not captured? That's why maybe they don't have the records to show, or what? I'm a bit confused about that explanation.
Are we?
Yeah, so I think about this one. You see, in a community, you can't really have an inventory of all of us. So even in the community I stay, I mean, you can't know everybody. The assemblyman may not be able to know everybody. But after the disaster, I was reading that so some people actually wanted to take advantage of the disaster to get housing for themselves, and I mean that is bad to do. I don't think also that the committee in charge of reviving the community can actually have an inventory as at yet. I mean, it will take a long while, because when I come and I tell you that, of course, this is where I stay.
The rebuilding committee actually did have a list of people with the properties that they occupied and what they had lost to the disaster, and they were able to pinpoint what the families needed to be rebuilt for.
Yes, but what we are saying, we are talking about people
doing it just like that.
We are talking about people who don't even stay in Apia. They may be staying in nearby communities, and for having heard about, they just want to benefit from. So whether it is housing, whether it is food, anything that is meant for the victims, people actually want to benefit from it. But I am happy that 1 year on, we've made progress with actually putting them back on their feet. As to economic empowerment, I doubt. I didn't hear anything about that. It's not just that, it may be enough to have a place to lay your
some
head.
People receive certain items. So when our team followed the minister and the delegation to Apiati, some of the people spoke to our reporter and they said, I remember one person who sold kinky, I think. She said, they've given her they got maize, and they give her some support. So we know that some level of support has gone through. But what I get from listening to that is that it's more temporary rather than a permanent solution. If breadwinners have been lost and now the people who work for school fees to pay are not working.
You see, that is why, Thelma, I'm thinking the victims, their children should be taken care of.
You've said that.
And for me, it should be by the organization and not even the state.
Yeah, the state. Not the state.
Because the mining company.
Already our coffers is empty. That's why they are taking our individual bonds. Shouldn't drain the coffers by taking care of. I think the organization should take care of that.
Yeah, I think
the mining company, they have money. They should put the children in school, pay their fees up to university level. And people, at least they should as Naa Atswei said, they should feel the pinch. 5 million is nothing to a mining company. 5 million. They will just pay it in no time. If they know every semester they have some school fees and maybe some allowances to give to people, next time they'll be very, very careful with the way they do it.
We are looking at the stories making the headlines in the newspapers and elsewhere. For now, we'll be taking a trip out of studio, join our guys on the ground. We are getting results left, right, and center. And Alan and Jay are out and about. They're about to give us a report. Guys, what's going on? Where are you? I think we've lost the guys there. Hey, reconnect back to us and let's have a feel of what you have been monitoring out there on the streets. So there are calls by the Health Minister for a review of the NHS Act, and that's also in the Daily Graphic. Perhaps I'll read that story briefly because we want to see exactly what is being reviewed. The story on page 13 of the Daily Graphic. Health Minister called for a review of the National Health Insurance Act that has the scheduled payment of outstanding claims to service providers from within 3 months to 4 weeks. This is to enable the ministry to be able to have a more convenient payment schedule, as the 4 weeks required now was short and prone to challenges. So there's a provision for service providers to receive their monies within 4 weeks. We know for a fact that it does not happen. And the 4 weeks we are not able to meet the deadline. And the minister is suggesting that we review it too within 3 months.
So I think that it is even in principle within 3 months already, because you have service providers tell you that I submitted my claims and it has not been handled. So the change will just be on paper, but in reality they will tell you it sometimes even goes beyond, so maybe I'm yet to understand the call. And even with the 4 weeks that they are always defaulting, it affects service provision. You go and then even paracetamol will be prescribed for you to go outside and buy from the nearby pharmacy. And so if you're saying that now let it be 3 months, then in reality you are saying that we'll pay them within a year. I don't know how that would work, but I think that with already resistance in the system, service providers should not, and then we even as those who go to seek a service and provision should not accept this. See, we pay our NHIS levy. I mean, we pay our NHIS contribution, and then you go and they tell you, okay, I don't have gloves, I don't have this, simply because their claims have not been handled. if the extension happens, it has a toll on the quality of service and the promptness of even service that is delivered. Because if the service provider even need gloves to hold you and can't afford that gloves, it extends, the time from which you arrive there, and then also when you receive care.
Hajia, so
And
yesterday,
I don't think it's
the
a
health
common
minister was
reaction.
answering questions before the Public Accounts Committee, and one of the members just wanted to understand what the repayment, the refurbishment, the reimbursement process was like. And that's when the minister said, he did say that they paid up until about April of 2022. And so he admitted that there was some arrears.
Yes, arrears,
so even if we end it at April, and we are now in January, that's 7-8 months. So it's still beyond the 3 months that the minister is asking for the review to be made.
You see, even for him to ask, I'm even surprised, because they've been defaulting already. They've been defaulting already. And then the consumer, which is us,
We bear the brunt.
we bear the brunt. Because if it's anything, I'm not sure Ghanaians would not like to pay more when they're going to get quality service. Because if most of the elements will be put on national health insurance, people will be ready to pay. You understand? But in a situation whereby you go to the hospital, the only thing that the card can cover is paracetamol in your card. Other medication you have to go outside the hospital to buy, or maybe at the pharmacy. And then maybe we are paying, is it 72? Can I say, no, I've even forgotten. Because you just use your card on your phone to do, so I can't even remember. Because we pay more than 500 Ghana cedis in reality when you are getting a prescription to go and buy, even at times more, especially those of us who have ulcer. If you are going to buy omeprazole or Nexium, it's expensive. So if all this will be catered for, and then maybe if you say pay 400 Ghana or 300 cedis, and you get quality service, Ghanaians will do it.
Because people have private insurance, and private insurance costs more, and
people pay because they
deliver.
get quality service. But in this case, 4 weeks. Now we are asking for an extension. Even within the 4 weeks, we take about a year to pay the service providers. So that's where I tend to sort of support what Naa Atswei is saying. Without extension, you are using 1 year. If there is an extension, you use 2 years. And the service will be poorer to the ordinary Ghanaian. That's how I see it. So I think they should go and they should do their mathematics well. Tell me, anything that you buy in this country, you pay national health
insurance level.
Health insurance, you pay. Everything now, even you go and eat in the restaurant. The other day I bought pie and a drink in one of the petrol shop. The pie cost me 30 cedis. The coffee cost me 39 Ghana cedis. And then there were some levies. So at the end of the day, I pay 86 Ghana cedis. I said, in my house breakfast, we don't spend this. So you see, you're putting people off maybe paying even tax. Because if the tax are so high, people will not go out there to patronize things that they'll be able to pay the tax.
Right.
And now it has been even increased. The VAT. The other day I was coming from Kumasi, we were debating. Somebody said he bought food and he paid about 27 Ghana cedis as tax. But if you go to some sharp corner chop bar, you use that 27 Ghana cedis and eat.
We are in a period of domestic debt restructuring, and a lot has been said on how government intends to finance or pay what we owe. Government's plan is for everybody to agree to use part of our monies to pay what we owe. Labour said no. Now individual bondholders say no. Pensioners said no. Christian Council is asking government, take your time. You put this plan aside and let's finish talking. Then we can go back and pick the plan. Yesterday they issued a statement and they were basically saying, stay your hand and let's have a conversation before we go forward. What do we think? Is Christian Council right to make the call?
more than rights. Let me tell you, we are not in a military dictatorship in this country. The way the Ministry of Finance is handling the economy of this country, I think we must call them to order. We must call the Ministry of Finance to order. Look at these individual bonds that we are talking about. Maybe somebody, that's his pension money. Or maybe somebody has put some money aside and said, oh, let me put it in a bond. At the end of the month, or end of 3 months or 1 year, I have this to use for 1 or 2 things. Now you are telling me that 2023, nothing. 0%. 2024, it will be 5%. Meanwhile, that was not the agreement or the contract that I signed onto. So that is breach of contract. And people can take banks to court. You cannot go and take a bed in the forest, remove all the feathers and come and show me what bed is this. Without consultation. You just take a decision without consulting the good people of this country. It is my money. I want to use my money the way I want it. The Minister of Finance cannot decide for me. You understand? But you see, I don't know why the Minister of Finance, for the matter, Minister of Finance, certain expressions are lost in his vocabs. Why am I saying this? Dialogue, negotiation is out of his vocabs. Because you cannot just come and do something. And there was even a threat, if you don't sign onto this. Hey, are we in a banana republic? We are in democracy, fa. People will take them on. We'll go to courts. We'll go to court for proper interpretation. Because you cannot just come and behave as if, do it, or I'll do this to you. We're not in military regime. So the Christian Council, their call is in the right direction. But most people have kept quiet for a long time. That's why this Minister of Finance is taking us for a ride. His own people in Parliament are saying what he's doing is not right. He should stop. The minority said this. Other political party, we spoke against it. And now he's giving us a deadline. We don't need any deadline. The 31st January deadline should be taken off, not extended. It should be off the table for proper negotiation, for proper dialogue, so that the good people of this country will know that you respect their feelings. But if you behave as if you are the landlord and we are all tenants, you can just take us off your house anytime. That's where Ken Ofori-Atta got it wrong. He got it wrong. I don't know who is advising the Minister of Finance. Because I think we have senior citizens in this country who have experience. Their own member, Mr. Kwame Pianim, is saying he won't contribute a dime. Because the Minister of Finance have taken us into a ditch. So you will not contribute a dime. So why do you want me, a CPP member, to contribute?
Nah?
They themselves are running away from that. An individual bond shouldn't be part of it. I read a story about a 77-year-old man who is saying he's going to sleep at the commercial bank if they don't give him his money, because this is the money he's using for his medication. So what is the government telling us? Is if they are a listening government, as His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa promised the good people of this country, they should stop disturbing our ears by saying that individual bonds are going. The way they have removed the pension fund from it, that's exactly how they should do with our bond. I didn't go for a bond for the Minister of Finance to come and tell me that this is how he wants to use my money. And then I can go to hell. I'm not going to any hell. Because this is my money and I'll go for it and nobody can take it from me. Else this government, for that matter, the Minister of Finance is making the government unpopular, even within his party. They cannot see or he cannot hear. Even if you sleep in your room and it rains and you didn't hear, at least if you go up in the morning, you know that the place is wet. Ghanaians are saying no, no, no. So they should listen to us. The massive, I can't remember the last time I went on demonstration. This demonstration, I'll join and join and join. We'll picket at the Flagstaff House. Nobody should take us for a ride.
The council says, listen,
It's a no.
There are engagements that government should have with stakeholders. And until those engagements are had, it will be out of place to impose any deadlines on or to impose any blueprint, a roadmap, whatever you call it, on any individual bondholder to come along on this journey of debt restructuring. Your thoughts?
Well, Thelma, so you see, if this exchange program goes on in its current form, it amounts to government actually putting its hands in our pockets. See, it's my money. I'm the creditor. So you can't come to me and tell me that this is what I intend to do with your money. No. You should ask me, what should I do with your money in such a... Don't even come near me with a proposal. I think all Ghanaians are seeking is survival. The ordinary Ghanaian just wants to live and have peace. As to whether we would have all the other things we need, that's a conversation for another day. Sometimes I'm also tempted to think that governments did not actually weigh the implications of the failure of what they've submitted. If they had weighed the implications of the failure, they would have preceded where we are now with engagements. So now you keep, today the deadline is this. You should have started, these consultations, even without a deadline. Where from this deadline? It should have started with consultations, started with engagements. I think that now, so there's so much resistance in the system that even if it's for good, we'll see that it's meant for bad. And sometimes too, I'm also tempted to think that, government should stop making more promises and go back to its books and actually deliver on the promises it had made, before. Just to deviate them, more recently, I heard Vice President Bamia say that is it tertiary students or secondary school students who have tablets with knowledge items on it. And I was asking, is there a new promise that is coming when we have other promises that are met? When we are asking that we need, you to take off. You should be addressing current issues or issues that have created resistance in the system than going on to make other promises. We don't want to hear any more promises. Government has a duty to protect and secure livelihoods. And if government will not do that, it is not permitted in any way to also put its hand in our pockets and make people feel. And so this old man that Hajia was talking about, when I listened to him I watched him on TV, I wept. So he apparently had actually lost investment in other private hands and was thinking that, so that of government is the securest I can have, if there is a word like that. And then today you come and you are telling him that if he wants his money, then he's losing about 50% of even the principal. What even happened to the interest? You are touching interest and you are even touching people's principal.
Because the value of the bonds on the bond market
because it is actually people's sweat, and the ordinary Ghanaian see the time people wake up and the time people get home. Just to even get one city in this country is not easy. And so if it is our money, I just said so. They shouldn't think that they are the landlords and we are the tenants. Please, we citizens, we are the landlords and maybe government is our tenant. We will maybe tell them what to do. They won't tell us what to do. And so the resistance continues in the system.
So the finance minister is saying, and this story is in the Daily Analyst, that government is targeting 80% participation in the debt exchange program, and they announced that's when they announced the extension of the deadline to end of January, and the conversations have still not been had. Former President John Mahama is saying Ghana's economy is collapsing, and the concerns about where we're going, how are we raising funds, and the idea that we all have to make sacrifices are still continuing. Is there an end in sight? And I keep asking this because where does it stop? Government says we want to use pensions. We say, nope, don't touch it, hands off. Government says we want to use individual bonds. Nope, don't touch it, it stops. And everywhere else, e-levy, people are finding ways of, okay, now I'll pay cash, now I'll do this, now I'll cash out and all that. Where does it stop? So where do we get the money? Remember that an IMF deal is still not in our hands.
So Thelma, it still stops with government. What we are saying is that don't come close to our money. Is that so much to ask for? To put in grammar, maybe my finance background is poor. What I'm saying is that don't come near the people's money. Don't come near the people's money. That is all. That's where it stops. I don't know if Hajia has something to say, but that is where it stops. It is our money. Don't come 100 meters near the money. let the money be there, secure our investment. See, coupons out of these investments are what people use to pay their awards fees, used for medical bills and other things. The system is already hard. See, things are already expensive. You know, you pass here, you are taxed. You buy water, you are taxed. You do this. If you wash with you walk into any shell shop to get this bottle of water, and you are given this. So there's water too. On a sunny day when I walk, everything you do is taxed in this country. So after giving you enough taxes, what else? Don't come near our money.
It's a no.
Hajia and Naa in complete agreement here. I'm looking for the story of the Cathedral brouhaha.
And Thelma, you see, so this technical team that is intended to be formed to look into this matter, I just hope they come up with the same thing to tell government that look within your government space and get some revenue to do what you want to do.
Down on expenditure.
There is no money, and we want to by all means put up a national cathedral. Thelma, there is no money. So if the admission is that there is no money, do we need see? I'm a Christian, and by principle of faith and my belief, of course, I stand with the National Cathedral, the building of it. But in applying reason to faith, you know that it is not the right time.
There's a lot happening concerning the National Cathedral, and the chairman of the Board of Trustees is speaking in the Daily Graphic today, page 10, spreading out to page 23. The good apostle, Professor Kwejo Pokonyina, explaining that given the membership of the board and the divergent views they represent, it is not possible for all members to have their way. That, however, does not also mean that their opinions are not considered or respected. They were saying this in a press statement in reaction to the resignation of the presiding bishop of the Lighthouse Group of Churches, Bishop Dag Heward-Mills. Apostle Onyina acknowledged that every leader had an understanding of issues that must be respected. And so the brouhaha concerning whether or not to have a national cathedral now, and whether or not the financial support for the cathedral should be a certain way. Now we are having key members of the Board of Trustees pulling back and stepping back and saying, well, my voice was not heard anyway, so why should I sit at the table where I don't have a voice? Apostle Onyina is saying that was not the case, and everybody's opinion matters.
Thelma, you remember the last time we spoke about this cathedral, I was a bit hesitant because of my faith. But I think we have to be truthful to ourselves as men and women of God. Why am I saying this? We went to bed, woke up in the morning, and our president, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, told the good people of this country that was his promise to God, to build a cathedral. But I'm not sure when he was promising God, he contacted the good people of Ghana whether we are ready to contribute to the building of the cathedral.
But the contributions is called for.
Let me finish. Now, what I thought maybe the board would have done is to maybe appeal for funds. We have Christian groups, we have Christian nations. Like what's happened with the national mosques here. You saw the people who came to vote. So are we going to say that when we go across the globe, speak to the Christian community, that the President of the Republic of Ghana, this is his commitment to God, and you want their support to build this cathedral, they would have done it. Even within Ghana. Because there's money in this country. The churches have money. Because all of them will have access to what? The cathedral. But I think there was no proper communication and there was no transparency. Because in the budget, we saw 80 million budgeted for the cathedral. I asked myself, why? Well, we still have schools under trees. We have our hospital, Bolga General Hospital is looking for a dialysis center because we have cases of kidney problems. I'm not saying the cathedral. I told you I'm for the cathedral, but it is not. I think the way that it was started, that's where the problem.
Hajia, you said the churches have money, and is a Christian council that is also calling for the suspension of the debt exchange program. Should we ask some of the churches to help us with our debt situation?
No, let me tell you.
The religious bodies.
You know when Mr. PNM, did you listen to Mr. PNM? Because there was no transparency, there was no open, there's no dialogue or negotiation. The Minister of Finance shrouded most of his dealing in secrecy. Why am I saying this? The leader of their parliamentary group in Parliament said there were some talks going on, but the final document, they didn't know what was in there.
Hajia, hold on to that thought. We have our correspondent Peter Agengre on the line. He's following up on a situation in Zebila where a number of persons believed to be refugees from Burkina Faso are seeking asylum in the Boko West district of the Upper West region. Peter Agengwe joins us now with details. Peter, good morning.
Good morning, Thelma.
What exactly is the situation? We know that there's a jihadist problem in Burkina Faso, but do you get the sense that it's so bad that people have to now seek asylum? Yesterday you told the story to GBC News. Give us any updates if you have any.
Okay, good morning to our listeners and our viewers. It is true that here in the Upper East region, in Boko West region, Boko West district, where these people have come all the way from the Burkina Faso, we understand that there was this jihadist attack on the people, and so they had to find a nearby place that they can seek refuge, and that is how come they found themselves in the Boko West district here in the Upper East region. The nearby communities in the Boko West district are Sogo. We also have the Naba. We also have here in the Zebila district. Zebila itself being where most of these people have come in. And if we get into the community of Naba, the people they have come in their numbers, over 2,000 as at yesterday, according to the NATMO district director. He said that they have registered even now more than the 2,000, that they are crossing up to 3,000 of these people in that particular area. And it is a worry to the people in the community because they really cannot accommodate them. They have come and they are staying in churches and in schools, and their source of water or food is a water, and so they just go into houses that are closer by and try to seek for maybe some support, and that is a worry to NADMO and that of community members in those areas.
Peter, the fact that most of these people who've come in are children below 18, what does that mean in effect?
Yes, so that is mostly the vulnerable type, especially even with women. They come in with these kids. The men, they come in and they try to go back to pick more of their family members. And that is how come you see that a lot of them are kids, children below 18 years, with their mothers. They do not even have the hope of maybe whether they will be able to go to school or not here. And so, but that is it. There are a lot of kids among them all. Most of them, they do not even have any clothes again extra that they will be putting on. I'm told that they are relying on maybe the community people who may be providing them something.
Peter, if NADMO is saying, talking about numbers and telling us how many people they've registered, are they talking about what kind of support systems are available? Because if they're staying in churches and relying on the communities for help, it does not point to any particular structure for what their care should be whilst they are seeking refuge in this country.
Yeah, so when I spoke to Daniel Anania, who is the district director of NADMO, he told me that, yes, they are doing the registration so that they'll be able to know the number of people that they are taking care of, or they would be taking care of in the Boko West district. When they are able to pick up the number, then they would be soliciting for support. As of now, they said the assembly has nothing to support these people, and so they are calling on agencies, they are calling on individuals who would want to come to the support or the aid of these asylum seekers to come in. But for now, they do not have anything. What they can afford now or offer now is the security, whereby you see a lot of military men and then immigration officers all over the area trying to ensure that the people are safe. And that is what currently is happening. There was a helicopter that patrolled the area some few days back, because they've been here for almost 7 days or 8 days now, and the police and the military with the immigration officials have been there to ensure that the place is peaceful.
But what's the plan to ensure that the borders are protected, Peter? Have you been speaking to the immigration officers about this? Because these people found their way into the country through some means. Was it through the approved borders, or was it through some other means of entry?
Yeah, that is actually the problem, and that is a worry today, because the people came in through unapproved routes. Some of them, they used motorbikes. Some of them used motor kings just to carry their people. Even some came in with these donkey carts, those, just something that could carry them across. And if you are taking the Sapelga route, you take the Sapelga route, you get to a place where the nearest community, the nearest, let me say, Burkina Faso community is Bitu, and that community is very close, and the border is just very, very open. And so they come in not just through the border, some of them come in through unapproved routes. But the security said that, yes, it is the situation in Burkina Faso that has brought these people into this country through these routes. And so that is why they have sent in a lot of the military and then the immigration officials to also patrol the area and make sure that these people are really asylum seekers and not people who have come into the country or the area to do something different.
Peter, be safe out there. We'll connect with you again when there are further details to share.
Thank you very much.
Our correspondent Peter Gengwe is in the Upper East region, reporting to us that some 3,000 almost Burkinabes have come into the country, specifically to the Boko West district of the Upper East region, seeking asylum, fleeing jihadist attacks in Burkina Faso. Keep you posted on further details. Connect with us online, GBC Ghana Online, for more updates of this story. GBC News, your news and current affairs channel, would also be giving you further updates during the day. Ladies, so we're talking about the National Cathedral, yes, but then here is a pressing national issue that has also been brought to our attention. Let's wrap up quickly on the cathedral bit, and then perhaps I'll pick one thought from each of you on the book.
To conclude on the cathedral, I think whatever we are going to do in the name of God, there should be transparency, accountability. And then, since it was a commitment by our president, he could have just come out to tell Ghanaians, starting from his own party members, about 6-point-something million people voted for him. Fundraising, let's pay this amount in the name of God. I'm sure people will do it. Our chief imam made a donation. So even he can appeal to other organizations by not touching the coffers.
Right.
You understand? That is why touching the coffers.
We'll have to leave this seat in about 10 or so minutes.
Oh,
wow. You've had a bite on the National Cathedral. The girls are back in school. The girls who made these comments about the president that we all condemned, they are back in school. What are your thoughts on what that has been? A quick one, because there's a shortage of premix fuel in Tema, and I'm eager to see if our correspondent has an update to share with us on that shortage. But the girls are back in school. President made the call, said, you know what, it's okay.
Good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we pleaded for them, and thankfully they are back in school. I'm sure they've picked up lessons. Would be keeping an eye on them, because like we said here the other time, they must grow into model women. This must not it must not shut down their lives. It's just a phase in their lives. They should pick up lessons from it and be better people. We wish them well in the exam. We'll be looking out for their results. They see they can only appease me with good results. After coming to plead, they can only appease me now with excellent results.
I was happy seeing them in their uniforms.
Yeah.
Just, walking
From
back
the beginning,
into
I was a
school.
bit hurt the way they came out, because that's not how we want our women to grow up into. But since they've been forgiven, I think they need, apart from the good results, I think they need some counseling. They need some counseling.
I'm happy that they are well on their way to becoming upright citizens. So I'll pick a few of your messages at the screen now. Randy is just greeting, saying good morning. Thank you for your greeting. One question, someone has a question. So like play, if NPP is voted out and Olumambuge is no more, John Mahama will promise to build national abosomdan for Kwekubonsom and Nananom. Will Ghanaians brag? As for this question, we don't have an answer. Good morning, Thelma. Hey, Trisha, welcome. Thank you for reconnecting back to us. We've missed you. Good morning, Thelma, and your astute panel. The finance minister is worsening the already ruined standing of the president. Nana Akufo-Addo, I must admit, shot himself in the foot at appointing Ken Ofori-Atta. It saddens me that the president is blind and deaf to all the interjections of Ghanaians. I'm not going to waste my time voting any longer because they are all the same. Trisha sharing her thoughts with us. Good morning, GTV Breakfast. Good morning to you as well. God bless you for your good work. This other one is saying, Musty, the good people of Ghana can now heave a sigh of relief from the measures put in by this able government to put things in place. All macroeconomic indicators are pointing to the right direction now. But what we need to do is to rally our support for this government. Musty, that's his opinion. Good morning, GTV. Hope you are doing well. You see, this government can devise members of the divide. Is that what you want to say? I'm not quite clear what you're trying to say. So be a bit more clear, and then we'll be back to read that message. What is the good reason why Mr. Ofori-Atta is still at post? Dr. Simeon is asking.
Big question.
Good morning, BFS, and a happy new year to Hajia. Hey, why only Hajia? In fact, we take part of this happy new year message. So they haven't seen you in a long time. It says you look lovely in your lemon green mayafi. Bika from McCarthy Hill is sending shouts to you. Mauli, Thelma, what they are going to do at Apiata is useless. The money they are going to spend on fuel, food, etc. can be capital money for some of them. Mauli Selassie Chachukwashi from Newtown. Kaneshi Manche. About this rampant illegal and unauthorized roadblocks, it's also very prevalent in the Kaneshi environment. I blame the law enforcers, specifically the municipal authority and the police. That notwithstanding, the loud noise emanating from the loudspeakers and ceremonies going on till wee hours in the night and early mornings is a nuisance not only to our environment, but to our health. Kaneshi Manche, not happy with all the noise at all. If you live in Jamestown or any of those places, you'll be used to it by now. The fly that refuses advice follows the corpse to the grave. The insensitive attitude of the NPP government has led us to this death trap. JDM is coming, hope 2024. That's what T.E. Mensah says. Levitt takers powers. The school instructions is supposed to pass through all students rather than just passing through the school. Those China students to turn a new leaf is what Sami is saying. Parkway Trinidad. Our security at the borders need to be tightened. It is really dangerous out there. Let's see if I can pick one more. Good morning, Thelma. I'm really enjoying the conversation and the insightful analysis from your panel. Thank you. It's what we love to do best. Good morning, BFS. Okay, busy typing. Good morning, Thelma, and your panel. The cathedral issue is the main problem affecting us. There are now more pressing needs than a cathedral for now. Nana sending us a message from Klago. Nice weekend to you, or nice weekend to you as well. Lovely morning, Quinty, a gorgeous panelist. Hi, Ajay. Hey, Ajay, you're getting fans from the screen, no? Ghana isn't a country to invest in business. More messages coming through. Great service as always. The girls should bow their heads in shame and be good citizens. More coming in. Good morning, BFS. I'm surprised the government is taking responsibility to rebuild the Apiati community at the expense of the company that caused the disaster. How much is 5 million, as Hajia said? In other jurisdictions, 5 million compensations are given to minor accidents, not even talking about the whole community.
Community.
Maxam should rebuild the community to the end. Mentor, you've sent a photo. I'm not independently able to view it before I put it on air, so we'll hold on. Good morning to you all in the studio. May God's help come to us in Ghana. No government can change Ghana. Even JM can't do anything. Hey, shots fired. Last one. Good work done, ladies. Ladies, it's a good work done indeed. I'm quite concerned about the premixed fuel shortage situation in Tema, and I was hoping that we could get someone to share some thoughts with us on the matter, but I'm guessing that we are running quickly out of time. But we've had quite a lot on our plate today. We weren't able to touch on the IGP's comments concerning the prophecies and saying that don't come and talk about somebody's family.
About your
family.
Talk about my family.
The police officers who somehow ended up with fake 190,000 CFA in their exhibits. We couldn't also talk about that. 3 of them have been picked up by the law. Some people said, listen, we are all in debt. So if we are struggling, those that we owe, they can also forgive the debt. Private lenders, they should just say, oh, for God and country, I forgive you.
When leadership show the way.
So what are our final thoughts about all the stories that we've talked about so that we can...
And so my final thought is still on the National Cathedral. I think that as a country, there are more pressing issues, like one of our experts said. See, there are classrooms without chairs. There are classrooms without textbooks. Even if there are textbooks, 10 students to 1 textbook, students have to, do this to... It's so appalling. See, God is not happy about the National Cathedral. And I put this on record. God is not happy. In as much as he's not happy about seeing kids lie...
For him to tell you
in as much as we see kids,
maybe
God is not happy with the National Cathedral.
Is that a prophecy?
See, in principle, when the promise was made to God, I'm sure God was happy. I mean, okay, so Nana Akufo-Addo wants to do this for me, but at the expense of what he's doing, God is not happy. So he can't build a National Cathedral at the expense of bad roads, textbooks, high cost of sanitary pads. See, God won't be happy about that. And on the final, let me wish my lovely niece Lisha a happy birthday. Lisha, I love you so much. See you.
Hey, Hajia, final comment.
I think we should set our priorities right as a country. Let's do the necessary things first, and God will add us the rest.
Thank you, ladies.
Where we are going to worship shouldn't be involved in any controversies. I'm not happy about it.
Hajia Hamdatu Ibrahim, former AG, Chairperson, CPP, future presidential candidate.
I wish you well.
Hajia, as always, such a joy.
I wish you well.
Naa Atswei, advocate par excellence, communications expert Naa Atswei Nee-Okpey. Thank you for sitting with us once again. We'll see you both